Liverpool to submit new bid for Mark Guehi with agreement in principle already sealed. Crystal Palace defender Mark Guehi has been linked with a move to Liverpool. Liverpool are set to submit a new bid to sign Crystal Palace defender Mark Guehi before the transfer window shuts next week, according to reports. The Reds have already been very active in the summer transfer window, with Hugo Ekitike, Florian Wirtz, Jeremy Frimpong, Milos Kerkez, and Giovanni Leoni headlining their new signings. But Liverpool are far from done ahead of Monday's transfer deadline, with Liverpool likely to make further moves for Newcastle United striker Alexander Isak and Crystal Palace defender Guehi. Last week, transfer expert Fabrizio Romano revealed that a deal for Guehi is absolutely on after speculation over a move to Liverpool had died down in recent weeks. Romano said on his YouTube channel, "Crystal Palace would love to keep Mark Guehi. Chairman Steve Parish has said if he wants to sign a new contract, he can stay. But Guehi has a clear intention to not sign any new deal and to try a new chapter. And that new chapter for Guehi is Liverpool. We have to see if Liverpool and Palace can agree on a deal this summer. The two clubs are still talking. The deal for Guehi is absolutely on." You remember what I told you 2 weeks ago? Giovanni Leoni and Guehi. That remains the case. Liverpool want to sign both. Will they be able to reach an agreement with Palace? We will see, but the conversation is still ongoing. So the Guehi deal is on for Liverpool to get a new defender for Arne Slot in these final days of the transfer window. Romano gave an update on Wednesday. He added on X, "Understand Liverpool remain in active talks to sign Mark Guehi immediately. LFC are ready to pay over £30 million now to get the deal done. But it depends on Crystal Palace. If Palace find replacement and let him go, Guehi already said yes to the Reds." And now Italian journalist Nicolo Schira insists that Liverpool are readying a new bid to try to sign Guehi before the transfer deadline next week. Schira wrote on X, "Liverpool are set to submit to Crystal Palace a new bid to try to sign Mark Guehi, who has already an agreement in principle with the center-back for a contract until 2030. Transfers LFC CPFC, Iro Kostas Simikas, is one player who is set to leave Anfield before the transfer deadline, after being pushed down the pecking order at left-back behind Kerkez and Andy Robertson." On Simikas' future, Schira added, "Konstantinos Simikas wants to play more, and so is ready to leave Liverpool and joining AS Roma on loan. Talks are progressing well in the last hours. Roma want to add an option to buy in the deal. Ready for the Greek left-back a contract until 2029, 1+3. Transfers LFC. Newcastle fans warn don't just believe what they are told about Liverpool target Alexander Isak. Alexander Isak has been training away from the Newcastle first team since he told the club he would never play for them again. But Julian Lescott has urged fans to not just believe the striker has refused to train. Alexander Isak has expressed a desire to leave Newcastle this summer. Julian Lescott has urged supporters to not just believe that Alexander Isak has withdrawn himself from Newcastle training to force through a move to Liverpool. Following his declaration in July that he wished to explore new opportunities, Isak has become caught up in an increasingly acrimonious dispute. The 25-year-old is determined to leave before the transfer window closes on Monday and has informed Newcastle he will not represent them again. Talks with the Reds have reached an impasse since their $147 million offer was rejected this month. Isak expressed his frustrations on the evening of the Professional Footballers Association awards ceremony, stating promises have been broken. Since the controversy erupted, he has been training separately from Eddie Howe's first team. But former Manchester City and Aston Villa defender Lescott has advised supporters to view Isak's training ground separation with skepticism. Boss Howe has made it evident that Isak cannot participate in his first team sessions due to the dispute, though he and the club have emphasized that the Swede will be welcome back when he is prepared, reports the Mirror. This prompts questions about Isak and whether he has similarly declined to train with his Newcastle teammates, just as he has stated he doesn't wish to play alongside them. Isak is currently training separately. In a chat with Carlton Cole and Olivia Buzaglo on All Out Football's In the Mixer, brought to you by Sky Bet, Lescott revealed, "I don't know that has happened, Isak refusing to train. It's been documented, but I also know I've been at clubs where teams have told players they cannot train. So don't just believe that Isak has said he doesn't want to train, and that is it. If he weren't good enough and they didn't want him, they'd be saying, "Don't come in." I was told at Villa I couldn't train with the first team for no reason at all. I would just try and go train with the reserves. I would have stayed at Villa, but because they said that to me, I was like, I can't come in and train with the reserves. I need to play. It's reported that discussions have taken place between Newcastle chairman Yasser Al-Rumayyan and Isak, with the club trying to negotiate a deal that would see the forward return to the squad content. Earlier this month, Isak rejected a new contract offer from the Magpies, and Lescott has stated that if Newcastle wishes to retain their star striker, they must compensate him in line with the rumored £150 million valuation they've placed on him. It's business, and from a business perspective, if with Isak you want a certain amount of money, you haven't got it. If you value him at a certain amount, you have to pay him the amount you value. Lescott continued, you can't say you want a certain sum of money and then keep him on the money he is on. You can't have it both ways. Should Isak be unable to secure an agreement with Newcastle and fail to complete a switch to Liverpool, he might find himself in an uncertain position. Nevertheless, Lescott believes the 25-year-old won't suffer from a brief hiatus, having predictably not appeared for Newcastle this campaign. It's not going to do him any harm physically, Lescott replied, when questioned about Isak's absence from action. Sharpness maybe, but the love of the game will come back, and regardless of who it is for, in 6 weeks, he's going to want to play. Liverpool's new Alexander Isak bid revealed as Newcastle braced themselves for £130 million plus offer for striker. Liverpool are preparing a bid worth over £130 million, $175 million, for Alexander Isak as they attempt to finally sign the Newcastle striker this summer. Liverpool have been chasing Isak all summer, have had one bid rejected by Newcastle, readying another British record offer. Recommended external content video. We need your consent to show you content our editorial team embedded from video. You can toggle this and all other embeds from video across goal.com on with one click only and deactivate as well. Always display video content. I confirm that I would like to see external content. Personal identifiable data could be transferred to third parties. What happened? Report per Football. Liverpool are preparing a bid worth in excess of £130 million for Isak, with the package potentially reaching £140 million, $188 million, when add-ons are included. Newcastle remain insistent that they will not sell Isak and have consistently demanded a fee worth £150 million. But the Reds are adamant they will not go that high. The bigger picture. Isak remains keen to move to Liverpool and has told Newcastle that he wants to make the switch to Anfield before the transfer deadline next week. Newcastle are steadfast in their refusal to accept bids below their valuation, and they are also busy working on potential arrivals themselves. After seeing a £50 million, $67 million, offer rejected for Wolves' Jacob Strand-Larsen, they are also interested in Rio Ngumoha at Brentford. Did you know? Isak has not played for Newcastle this season, and the club are braced for Liverpool to up their offer. It is unclear if a new bid that remains below their £150 million asking price will be considered, however. What next? Newcastle play Leeds United on Saturday while Liverpool play Arsenal. The transfer window closes next week. Whether Isak remains on Tyneside will be a major story of the final week of the market. Man City star could be key to Liverpool signing Marc Guehi as Reds get transfer boost. The Reds still hope to sign Guehi in the final week of the transfer window and will be encouraged that Crystal Palace is monitoring the market for centre-back options. Liverpool's hopes of signing Marc Guehi have taken a boost with Crystal Palace keen on Manchester City's Manuel Akanji. Liverpool's hopes of signing Marc Guehi in the final week of the transfer window have been handed a significant boost with Crystal Palace expressing its interest in Manchester City defender Manuel Akanji. The Swiss international was left out of City's squad to face Tottenham Hotspur on Saturday and has been linked with an exit in recent weeks. Reports have also claimed Akanji is a target for Bayer Leverkusen and Galatasaray. But Liverpool will be hoping Palace wins the race to sign the centre-back, who has spent 3 years at the Etihad. It could hasten a potential exit for Guehi, with the Eagles willing to sell the England international at the right price. Despite signing Giovanni Leone, Liverpool is still hopeful of acquiring Guehi before the window shuts on September 1st, while the high-profile Alexander Isak saga will also have a conclusion in the next 7 days. Unlike the Newcastle United forward, Guehi has continued representing Palace in the early weeks of the new campaign and has played every minute of the club's 4 games so far this season. It's understood the centre-back does not plan to sign an extension on his current Palace contract, which expires at the end of the season. Reports have also indicated that he is keen on a move to Anfield. Guehi remains a Liverpool target in the final week of the window. City were linked with the player over the weekend, but Liverpool.com understands the Blues do not plan to make any approach at this stage. Therefore, Palace's interest in Akanji could offer a telling insight into Guehi's next steps. I am worried about Crystal Palace if we are losing players and we don't get the right ones in, admitted head coach Oliver Glasner last week. It is my duty as manager to tell the owners what we have to do to be competitive and stay on our pathway. We are very, very late to find replacements, said Glasner. I think we could have behaved much better than we did. It's not the best way to start the season. I think we are below the edge. Konet has struggled in the early weeks of the season. The desire to bring in Guehi has been heightened by Ibrahima Konaté's disappointing performances in the early weeks of the season. The ex-RB Leipzig star was at fault for a goal in each of the Reds' opening Premier League fixtures and earned criticism from Jamie Carragher in his post-match assessment of the 3-2 win over Newcastle United. Guehi, who came through the ranks at Chelsea before joining Palace in 2021, has established himself as an England regular and has been named in 5 of the last 6 international squads, although he missed June's fixtures through injury. Rio Ngumoha has already made Arne Slot change his plan as new Liverpool reality clear. Rio Ngumoha was the hero for Liverpool against Newcastle in dramatic fashion. He is not so much knocking on Arne Slot's door as he is hammering it down. Rio Ngumoha of Liverpool celebrates scoring the winner against Newcastle. Arne Slot clearly loves Rio Ngumoha, but even though his manager has repeatedly sung his praises, the precocious teenager is still finding ways to surpass expectations. The 16-year-old was one of the standout stars of preseason, but come the Bournemouth match, Ngumoha was left on the bench even as Liverpool had to dig in to salvage a late win. Tempering expectations, Slot tacitly conceded that he was reluctant to turn to someone so young to try and turn the tide. Federico Chiesa was the hero that day instead, and the Premier League opener concluded with a sense that perhaps Liverpool might still need to use the market to find a Luis Diaz replacement. Fast forward a week, and a sense persists that Liverpool may be one forward light, especially as the Alexander Isak saga drags on. But Ngumoha could not be doing any more to convince Slot that he needs a clear pathway to the first team. This time around, Slot did give him a chance to influence proceedings, albeit only in the last scraps of added time against Newcastle. At the point when Ngumoha came on, Liverpool found itself strangely under the cosh from the 10-man Magpies, and a draw was starting to look more appealing. But even before his dramatic late moment, Ngumoha turned the tide. His fearlessness on the ball got Liverpool back up the pitch, relieving some of the pressure that had been building. And then came his headline contribution, showing awareness beyond his years to arrive at the back post at the perfect time. He then produced a ridiculously cool first-time finish beyond Nick Pope to send the away fans into raptures. By leaving him out against Bournemouth, perhaps Slot was on some level trying to contain the hype, to manage expectations, but the cat is firmly out of the bag. This is a hugely exciting talent who is already at a level where he can mix it with the best. In that sense, Ngumoha is effectively forcing Slot to change the plan. What might have been earmarked as a season of very gradual exposure to the first team is now a campaign where the teenager has a case to be included week in, week out. Rio Ngumoha of Liverpool applauds the fans at full-time following the team's victory in the Premier League match between Newcastle United and Liverpool at St James's Park on August 25th, 2025 in Newcastle upon Tyne, England. Calls to start would probably be a touch premature, although a few more late contributions like that will certainly attract such shouts. But at the very least, there would be a strong case to utilize Ngumoha's fresh legs off the bench more often than not. It was great that he could secure the points against Newcastle, but he would have been every bit as useful coming on at 2-0 up. Perhaps Liverpool would not have found itself so penned in if he had been there as an outlet, tying opposing fullbacks in knots and making a nuisance of himself. He has now stood up and proved himself across a consistent run of games in pre-season and shown that the impact can translate to competitive fixtures. The only thing holding Slot back from using his more would be his age. But is that a good enough reason? It's looking like a weaker and weaker case. There's no suggestion that Slot has got anything wrong up to this point. He is keenly aware that he is dealing with someone who still has a lot of physical and emotional maturing to do, and that comes with a need for added caution. But from a footballing standpoint, there can be little doubt now. Ngumoha is ready.